Does Christianity still play an important role in the UK? Are we still a Christian country? And loads of you have been emailing in about this, gbviews@gbnews.uk. I'm hoping that we might have some of those emails shortly. But with me now is Gavin Ashenden, former chaplain to Queen Elizabeth II, and Andrew Copson, CEO of Humanists UK. Great stuff. I will start with you, Gavin. Gavin, are we still a Christian country?
No, not at all. Absolutely not. In fact, the numbers are much worse than you say. You talked about people who identify as Christians, but actually we should really be talking about people who practice as Christians, and they're much lower. This isn't a great surprise because this is in line with Europe. It's not just about England or the UK. Europe and America have been giving way to a secular philosophy. I'd rather not talk about religion and secularity. I think everyone has a worldview. And the church has lost its influence, partly because the media has been resolutely anti-Christian and partly because the church hasn't lived up to its own ideals. But the church has been here before. It converted the whole of Europe from paganism in the 5th, 6th and 7th century. We've just got to do it again. We've done it before. We know what to do. It's just a matter of people practicing.
OK, I'll definitely come back to you on a few of the things that you said there. But, Andrew, I'll lob it your way for a second. Andrew Copson, CEO of Humanists UK. One of the startling things for me about all of this is that 37.2% said they had no religion, this is in England and Wales, up from 25.2% back in 2011. Now, this is a concern, as far as I'm concerned, because some would argue that religion can impose good morals on people. Have we just got a load of lawless pagans rampaging across England and Wales? What's going on?
Well, I don't want you to worry, because it's certainly true that some religious people have got good morals, and they may even think they get their good morals from religion. But plenty of non-religious people have got good morals too, and there really is no correlation, at least in the West and in the free world, between religion and morality as such. And we've got plenty of evidence from social experiments to show that that's the case. So don't be worried about that. I mean, I agree rather with everything that's just been said. There's been an effective collapse in religious belief and religious belonging, and now we see the long shadow of that in the census data, which measure cultural identity. That's fallen away too for religion, and no religion has surged ahead. It's not quite true to say that we're in common with everything that's happening over Europe and America, because the UK and England and Wales in particular, and Wales in particular even more so, where the non-religious now outnumber Christians, are far ahead, as I would say it, in the race, ahead of the game and surging much faster than others. But yeah, that's certainly true.
And I'll throw it back again your way, Gavin Ashenden, who's former chaplain to Queen Elizabeth II. Can I just make a point, shock horror, that some people might find slightly controversial? Gavin, are Christians a little bit more timid when it comes to their belief than, dare I say, it's other religions, which maybe makes it more susceptible? So, for example, we've had stand-up comedians who have based entire world stand-up tours on atheism. We've had various different shows on television about atheism, and some would argue slagging off Christianity. You simply can't do that about some other religions, can you? Is Christianity an easy target?
Oh, well, yes, it's a very easy target, and there's always been a delicate balance in Christianity between being a muppet and turning the other cheek. And very often people can't tell the difference. So I'm afraid we have lots of muppets at the moment, not many turning the other cheek. But I don't want to speak for other people. I was a secularist for much of my life, and then I discovered that everything that Jesus taught was true, and it changed my life, and I've been talking about it ever since. And lots of people have become Christians in my life, and it's all. And although Andrew's right, of course Christians don't have a monopoly on morals. That would be dreadful, and indeed many of them behave very badly. But the difference is I think we shouldn't be talking about morals. We should talk about forgiveness, because one of the real problems in society is people not forgiving each other, having vendettas and vengeance and falling out forever. It ruins families. It sets up racism and kinds of classism. Christians have a solution to that nobody else has. Because they're forgiven and they're called to forgive without limit, there's a capacity for healing relationships that other philosophies don't have. Other philosophies range from ignoring each other to bombing the hell out of each other. Christianity is unique and really rather precious.
Andrew, come back to that.
Well, it's not my personal experience. I mean, I've known Christians who have been some of the most unforgiving people I've ever met, and I've
give me some context. Give me some context, Andrew.
Well, or non-religious people who've been amongst the most forgiving. I mean, my grandmother was the most forgiving person I ever knew, and she was a lifelong atheist and humanist. So, I mean, we can only speak about these things from our personal experience, of course. And my experience is different from my friend there. So I think that forgiveness is important. It's not, of course, the only thing that's important. I mean, dare I say that if you have a non-religious view where you're able to synthesize different points of view, look at different cultures, look at different traditions, look at different sources of morality, different values, different beliefs, you might be able to take a broader view and say, there's more than one important value in the world. Forgiveness is important, but justice has its place. Charity is important, but self-interest has its place. Social solidarity is important. I mean, lots of things are important. I think for me, one of the things that the big change in the value shift that we've gone through from religion to non-religion is partly that, is recognizing there's a much bigger context and life is much more complicated than it seemed to people 2,000 years ago.
Yes, and I think, Gavin, one of the things for me is there is a fine line in modern society between traditional religion and religious values. I mean, the gay marriage thing rears its head all the time, and also as well the idea, I mean, I've read a ridiculous article about the idea that Jesus might have been transgender. I mean, you can be pro-trans and maybe agree that Jesus probably was not transgender. But if Christianity itself is not even sticking to its own, I suppose, doctrine, really, how can it expect anybody else to do it? I mean, some other religions, for example, Islam, resolutely and unashamedly sticks to its doctrine, and that seems to be on the rise.
I think it was Chesterton who said the problem with Christianity isn't that it's been tried and found wanting, it's been tried and found too difficult. Because although, as Andrew said, he knows lots of forgiving humanists, and of course he does. Humanists are wonderful people. If a Christian doesn't forgive, you can say you're failing in your aspirations. You need to change. If a humanist doesn't forgive, you can say, well, it's your choice. You can do what you like. So it's not a matter of comparing people with people as comparing one way of life with another. I still think that one of the most impressive things about Christianity is that all Christians are under a duty to forgive without limit, and that kind of behaviour changes the way society works.
Gavin, thank you very much. I've just got time very, very quickly to throw back to Andrew for the final word. Can I just put something to you, Andrew? Now, I am Christian, OK? I'm also not necessarily a particularly great person, so I want to qualify it with that. I cling on to resentments in a little knapsack and store them up, and then I have a smash room at home where I let them out. But anyway, however, my belief in a final judgment day, i.e. a heaven and a hell, right? Well, let's be honest, I think we all know which way I'm going to end up going. But a heaven and a hell stops me from being an absolute tyrannical dictator. And is there a concern? Is there a concern that if we do turn into a godless, atheist society, if people think this is it and we don't have to get judged one day, you will end up seeing an increase in people just living for today, i.e. looting and murdering?
Well, there may be a very small minority of very genuinely bad people like you, who the only thing that restrains them is, fear of punishment afterwards. But most people do good because they want to do good. They want to have good done by them, and so they treat others well. They live in society, and they recognise that if you want to have a successful life in society, then you have to have rules that govern our behaviour together. So although there might be some people unusually who have to be constrained by fear of punishment or promise of reward from doing the things they secretly want to do, I think most people are much better than that. Yes,
I should probably at this point qualify. I have no desire to loot and or murder, but there we go. Thank you very much. But that might change if I found out that God didn't exist. Anyway, right, thank you very much, both of you. As Gavin Ashenden, their former chaplain to Queen Elizabeth II, and Andrew Copson, CEO of Humanists UK. What do you make of that?